Welcome back, children. Once again, I welcome you all to our chapter, Sustainable Management of Resources. Children, I hope all of you are safe and good. And I hope you are sincerely going through these modules because it is a very important chapter in your curriculum. Till now, we have discussed many things about the management of resources. We learned about the Ganga Action Plan. We learned about the 5 Rs. We learned about the need for the management of resources. We learned so many things about the forests, saying that they are the biodiversity hotspot. But then we go to another very important resource that we take for granted. What is that? That is water. Water for all. A drop of water is precious. Don't waste it. We are usually seeing those logos all around. Now, why? Why should we learn about water? Because water is such a resource which, unless is taken care of properly, time is not late or time is not so far when this valuable resource will get depleted. So we have to take care of water. Now, when we are on the topic water, a very important word that comes to our mind is about the dam. What are dams? We are going to study about dams, the utility of the dam, but what are the problems that are associated with the construction of dam? About certain water harvesting projects, certain traditional methods and certain modern methods that are being used, and of course about the fossil fuels, that is coal and petroleum. So let us sit back and let us watch and let us learn some more about our environment and its conservation. Okay, children. So after the discussion on forests, when we are discussing about sustainable management, we also have to think about the other resources that you have around you. We have water, we have coal and petroleum, we have to discuss about wildlife. So these are the various other resources that we have around us. Let us discuss about the sustainable management of water. Let us go back again to what is the definition of sustainable management. What is sustainable management? Management of the resources in such a manner that it can be used beneficially by the present generation as well as the future generations. So that is our aim when we study about sustainable management of water. So management of resources in a prudent manner, in a wise manner, in a judicious manner, so that they will be available for the future generations. Let us learn about water. Water, as you all know, is a basic necessity for all terrestrial forms of life. Irrigation methods like dams are there, tanks, canals, etc. are being used in various parts of India. Dams. What are dams? Dams, you all have learned in social also that dams are certain barriers that are built across the rivers. What is the main advantage of a dam? Dams are used to generate electricity and it also ensures adequate water for irrigation so that it can be the needs of the farmers can be satisfied. Not only that, it also provides continuous supply of water in the regions where water is less. So these are the advantages of dams. But then there are certain disadvantages also. What are they? There are certain problems also when dams are being built by the government. Disadvantages are that the proper distribution of water does not take place. Large number of people are displaced without proper compensation. And third point is it causes deforestation and loss of biological diversity. So these three disadvantages can be categorized as social problems, economic problems, or ecological problems also, or environmental problems also. Let me explain the problems one by one. Now, when a dam is going to be built or about to be built, definitely the people from that area have to be evacuated. And when they are evacuated, they are losing their homes. They are losing their source of living or they are losing their livelihood. But is the government able to compensate for them? No. Large number of people are displaced without proper compensation or without proper homes. So that is the first problem behind a dam. What is that? That is a social problem. Then economic problems are also arising. Some money that can be used beneficially for the people or for other projects for the people is being utilized for the building of dams. You know, dams are multi-crore projects. Crores of rupees are being spent for a dam construction. So all this money is after all being utilized, and so their basic necessities are not being fulfilled. And proper distribution of water is also not taking place. You are usually finding that the people living nearer or closer to the dams, they usually get more amount of water supply, and the people who are far away from a particular dam also might get less amount of water. So improper distribution of water is coming up there. Moreover, it causes environmental problems. It causes deforestation. As a result, loss of biological diversity occurs. The amount of flora and fauna in a particular area is disturbed. So these are the three major problems behind a dam. That is social problems, economic problems, and ecological problems. So that was all about the dam. Let us learn about water harvesting now. What do you mean by water harvesting? Water harvesting is a very important process that has to be done in our country, because even now our irrigation or our agriculture is rain-fed. We are depending on the monsoons for our agriculture. So this rainwater, if it can be collected and if it can be utilized, it would be very, very good. And we can store that water. What are the advantages of storing water in the ground? There are many disadvantages are there. First thing is that the water that is stored under the ground does not evaporate. It spreads out to recharge the wells. It provides moisture for vegetation over a wider area, and it does not provide breeding ground for mosquitoes, and it is protected from contamination by human and animal waste. Children, this question is very important for you. What are the advantages of water stored underground? These 5 points are also very important, so try to learn them as points. The first point is the water that is stored underground does not evaporate fast. It can equally spread out in such a way that the nearby water bodies can also be recharged, like there will be sufficient water in the wells or the rivers nearby. It provides moisture for the vegetation so that the soil will be fertile and it can provide greenery in that area. As a result, the breeding, it won't be allow the mosquitoes and all to breed, because mosquitoes and all breed only on the surface waters, not on the underground waters. And it is protected from contamination by human and animal waste also. So these are the advantages of water stored under the ground. Now, there were some ancient methods in India that have been practiced about the watershed management. What is this watershed management? Different methods of watershed management have been known since ancient times. One of the best known method is that of Khadin in Rajasthan, which consists of a long earthen embankment. Embankment means a bank built across the lower hilly regions. Then apart from that, talabs are there. Talabs means small ponds. They are also methods of watershed management. It stores water for drinking also, as well as for household or domestic purposes. Other examples of watershed management are Kuls in Himachal Pradesh, Ahar and Pines in Bihar, Eris in Tamil Nadu, Bandis in Madhya Pradesh, Surangams in Kerala, etc. These are some examples. They can be asked as objectives. So just go through the names. Kuls in Himachal Pradesh, Ahars and Pines in Bihar, Eris in Tamil Nadu, Bans in Madhya Pradesh, and Surangams in Kerala. Now let us learn something more about the Khadin. Khadin was a system of watershed management, I told you, in Rajasthan. Mainly in the lower hilly regions they are found. As you can see on the screen, there is a catchment area which consists of trees, where the water falls, especially after a rainfall, water is accumulated there. Then that water just comes through the slope, that is called the Khadin area or cropped area, and then it is coming to the Khadin Bandh. Through the Bandh, there are facilities, or there are arrangements made in such a way that the water seeps down or it recharges the groundwater. As a result of that Khadin in that particular area, a dug well or an ordinary well in that area will also have sufficient amount of water. So I hope Khadin arrangement, of course, explanation is not important. But that was how a Khadan was made, and that was a traditional method of watershed management. Next topic is coal and petroleum. So far that we have discussed, what all have we discussed? We've discussed about forests, we discussed about wildlife, we discussed about water. Now we come to two fossils. What are these? They are coal and petroleum. Now we had started our chapter with renewable and non-renewable resources. All these resources that we discussed so far, they are all renewable. But now that we are going to discuss, they are coal and petroleum, which are non-renewable natural resource. Coal was formed from the remains of the trees buried deep inside the Earth's surface about 500 million years ago. Petroleum is also formed from the animal deposits. That means from the bacterial decomposition of dead marine plants and animals at the bottom of the seas. So coal and petroleum, therefore, are called fossil fuels. But the way things are being done now, or at the present way they are being used, petrol will last us for only about 40 years and the coal will last us for another 200 years. That is why we say they are non-renewable natural resources. One time will come when they will become depleted. So, but there are certain harmful effects also of using fossil fuels. You know that when they are used beyond a certain value, they can create pollution. When they are being in the mining areas, when coal is being extracted or when petrol is taken from the rigs, lot of environmental pollution is taking place, and the gases like carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, etc. are released and they are causing pollution to the air. So we should be very careful while using these resources because they are non-renewable. They will get exhausted after a few years. Secondly, they cause pollution. So because of these reasons, sustainable management and judicious use of these resources are very, very important. So let me now conclude the chapter. Children, after viewing the slides and after listening to the conclusion, after listening to the class, you might have understood that sustainable management of resources is a duty of each and every citizen. I won't say in our country only, of the entire universe. Because when we are talking about environmental concepts or when we are talking about ecosystem, we are not talking about a country or we are not talking about a state. We are talking about the universe or the globe as a whole. Because if we are not careful about it in our own personal lives, then the day is not far when everything will come to an end and human life will also be in danger. So I hope the lesson is clear to you. So with that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you very much.